Marianne Edgar Buddy lectured Trump at the national prayer.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
I don't understand why every woman with this haircut is totally insufferable. They get the haircut and then realize that they need to be some kind of lesbian Presbyterian bishop. First of all, there shouldn't be any gay and lesbian children. They're children. They should just be children, okay? They're lesbian until after they've been molested. So
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared.
who gave this woman this job, first of all? The first requirement to lead the National Prayer Service should be that you can't be a woman. Sorry. Yeah, I said it. I don't care. I don't care. Because it seems like every time there's a woman leading a church service, she's talking about the lesbian, gays, and trans who are getting killed somewhere. By the way, the place they're all getting killed are in the countries of these migrants that you want to welcome in here. The countries that give these people the most rights are Western countries. And yet you're pleading for them like these are some saints, some poor saints who need to be given entry into your country. Because otherwise, Jesus isn't going to love you. I love how none of these people ever asked to have mercy upon the Americans who were scared because of the illegal migrants who were coming over and killing their children, raping their daughters, taking over their apartment buildings and committing violent crime, crashing their cars because they don't know how to drive. Where was the pleas for mercy then? That's what I don't get with these people. Why does their compassion only ever work in one direction? They never have any compassion for their fellow Americans. Because they're like, white people are the devil. White people are demons. That's how you know that they think Americans are white.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals.
Ah, yes, the selfless immigrants who come here and run our country because we are so incapable. Everything would fall apart if it wasn't for them. Why don't we mention the migrants who crash our cars, who don't know how to drive and kill an average of 2 Canadians every day? Why don't we talk about the immigrants who come here and use our welfare programs that are meant to support our citizens when they are in dire straits to buy up all the milk at Costco and then go resell it in their businesses at a significant markup. So they buy up the supply and then sell it to the native citizens where they can't afford it. And then why do they own all the gas stations and the 7-Elevens? Oh, because the government gives them interest-free loans. And they buy up these businesses. And then as soon as that interest is due, they just sell it to another immigrant in their community who gets an interest-free loan for that. And then he gets another interest-free loan to buy another business. So it goes around in a circle. That's why a lot of times you'll go in a place and you go, wait, these aren't the same Indians that were in here last month. You're correct.
They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
Just looks at her. She looks like she wakes up a lesbian. Guarantee you this Subaru driving butch probably lives in a gated community somewhere surrounded by a bunch of white people where all in her liberal friends can pontificate on the poor status of the immigrant. These people don't live in the neighborhoods that have been taken over by the migrants because if they did, you know what? They'd be like, it's time for them to go. You know who knows that diversity doesn't work? People who live around diversity. They always want the government to take care of them, the government to give them money, the government to give them benefits. What does that translate to? Oh, they want the government to take your money and give it to the migrants. They don't want to give their money. They don't want to give their homes. Remember what happened when they shipped all those migrants up to Martha's Vineyard? Yes, we want diversity, but not where we live. Give it to the others. Give it to the poor whites, the ones we don't like. Give it to those stupid Southern racist Republicans. They're the ones who need it. Where? We like the Browns here. We don't need this. We believe in equality and diversity and inclusion, just not in the schools that my children go to.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we just don't want this country to be brown. It's true. Because every time a country becomes brown, it goes to shit. That's the truth. That's why all the Browns are leaving the brown countries. He throws this away like, oh, documentation, it doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter. Because when one of these immigrants hits your car and doesn't have insurance or registration or anything, guess who that falls upon? You. And when they do these things, and God forbid they hurt or kill someone, there's no recourse. They're let go. That's why it matters. Oh, it matters if somebody's a citizen of your country, because if they're not a citizen, what vested interest do they have in maintaining the country that they're coming to? They're not seeing it like that. They see it as a bank that they can come in and extract resources from. And much of the time, they send tons of those resources back where they came from. And they know that, hey, if this whole thing collapses, I'm just going to go back to where I came from. And even if it collapses, it's going to be a lot better than where I came from. So I'm going to be fine.
They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples.
What the heck is a wadara? I don't even know. And this is how you know she's not a real Christian, right? Because Christianity says, I am the way, the light, the truth. It doesn't say there are many paths to God. That is a ecumenical modern idea that seeks to delegitimize Christianity. That's what that's about, okay? It's never about delegitimizing Hinduism or Buddhism or any of those things. It just wants to take away what the major claim in Christianity is. So she's a fraud. I mean, she's a fraud, obviously, because she's giving a sermon and she's a woman. I guess they've been through this before and they were like, hey, if we let women give sermons, pretty soon they're all going to turn into lesbians.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
How about mercy on those children that got killed by a Rwandan immigrant? Apparently he was born in the UK. He didn't target other black British people. He targeted whites. So he clearly sees the distinction. He clearly didn't identify as a Brit. We're just the retarded ones who were like, man, he's British. I was born here. When you bring in a bunch of diversity and a bunch of cultures that don't respect the American way, things go to shit. How do you expect people to say, support our way of life when they don't even understand the concept of free speech? They think free speech simply covers your right to say anything that doesn't make them upset. But the minute you say something, whether it's true or not, by the way, that just sounds racist to them or sounds offensive, they immediately go, this is hate speech. You will not maintain the American ideals while bringing in people who are totally anti-American, don't even have a conception of these things. Some of these people, their IQ is so low, they can't even plan for the future. So they don't care if they do a crime that's going to get them in jail tomorrow. They don't understand the concept of tomorrow.
Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
Of course, she summed it up with that, we are all immigrants once. And this is that big lie of, let's say, the big lie of the 21st century, that the original Americans were immigrants. They weren't immigrants. They were pilgrims. They were the founders of a civilization. The moral of the story is, don't listen to any trans lesbian bishops who want to come in and tell you how you're wrong for not wanting to open up your borders and your home to people who literally hate you. Time's over. We're done. We're done because we've lived through hell called diversity. We gave all the gays their rights, and then they started fucking each other in the street in front of kids. And then we were like, oh, that's why that's in the Bible. Okay, we're done. We're done now. Go home. Go home. Go back to whatever library you crawled out of.